for work. Look at that backdrop. Nice.
Yes.
I don't even have that.
I thought it was only fair that I come in from outer space in from Urbano to welcome everybody.
Fantastic.
Yes,
Nice.
well,
Well
thank you so
done.
much for being here. I'm Megan from JaMonkey. Congratulations on another great season of WondLa. This is so exciting, I'm sure. So Tony, let me start with you. Your illustrations are legendary. So I'm dying to know if you are creating storyboards for the animators or if you have taken a crack at animation yourself.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's a great question. I drooled and definitely would have loved to have been involved with the story team. But I suspect their schedule was so breakneck that I probably would have slowed them down if I was involved because I'd be like, "Well, the hand isn't quite right." And um, I love animation. The team at Skydance is a super group comprised of folks like Bobs, who came from Disney, people from Pixar, people from DreamWorks, Blue Sky, and responsible for making some of my favorite and most beloved and cherished television series and films. So there was a mutual admiration on from both sides. I really respected and loved them as artists, and I really felt that respect from Bob's and the team as well. And it's that I can't if I can convey anything, that is just so rare in the adaptation process. And that led to me being involved with the team from, 2018 to now, working with them. I loved animation. It's very collaborative, which writing books is not. It's very, it's just me in the studio with the voices in my head. But it's very iterative, which writing a book for me is. So I'll write a draft. I'll have a couple beta readers read it and tell me what they think. Bob's and the team will do a rough kind of animatic of the show. They'll put it on the screen. Everyone will watch it, tell them what they think, and then rinse and repeat. So it was just absolutely fascinating, and I loved every minute of being involved and having a front row seat to seeing how the show was made.
Awesome. Well, Bob's, you've produced tons, like you mentioned, from Disney shows and movies. So tell me about your process in adapting Tony's WondLa trilogy for the screen.
Well, Tony touched on it, and one of the first things was to try to aim for a feature quality show. And what does that mean exactly? That's easy to say, but both visually and from a storytelling standpoint. And something you don't usually do in television, as Tony mentioned, is iterate. In a sense of like you write a script, often in TV you write a script and then you board it and then off it goes. And then you edit it and beaming it to a satellite, right? But here we were able to, as Tony said, take the script, put an animatic together with scratch dialogue, scratch effects, music, etc., and then watch it the way you would do on a feature. So, and we do that multiple times. So when you actually are seeing the show, you're seeing the sixth or seventh version of the show, which allows us to sort of pressure test it for both look of picture, but also for the depth of the quality of the storytelling, and which is the main thing, right? Because none of it
Yeah.
matters if the story doesn't, if it's not connecting with you emotionally. So that was one of the big things was not only aiming for a look of picture that looked like a feature quality that would stand up even on the big screen, to adapting more of a feature style of production wherein we iterate on story more than you would on a typical TV show.
Yeah, I don't think Skydance does a great job at that. I feel like the quality of the animation is just so great. It comes across so beautifully. I mean, look at my background. It's just wonderful. So,
Well, Megan,
this
just to touch on that, I mean, one of the great things about working at a place like Skydance, as Tony's touched on with all of the talented people here, we bring all of them in. We all share our shows or movies with each other, and we all try to help. Everybody wants everybody's show to be great. So we have a lot of awesomely talented people who can come in and give us great ideas, and that's fresh eyes for us. So it's a terrific creative environment.
I love that. I love a good creative environment. It just breeds so much good aspects and outcome from it. So this is really for both of you. So Ava experiences a lot of transformation during season two, leaning more into kind of book two, A Hero for WondLa. What are you hoping young audiences take away from this season?
Oh, good question. I think, if season one and book one dealt with the theme of family and what constitutes family, so in this case, Eva kind of has a found family in season one and starts to realize just because you don't look like me or we're flesh and blood doesn't mean I can't care for you in the same way that I would someone I'm related to or sibling. And then I think in season two, as it is in book two, she does find flesh and blood, but they don't see eye to eye. And in fact, they have a strong difference of opinion about a great many things. And I think that was important to me back when I wrote the book. I think it's pretty important now that concept today where we are. I think also what Bob's and the team were so incredible at doing is the when I constructed the overall arc of the books, book one was meant to be very black and white. This character's good, this character's bad, as far as how Eva saw the world. And because it's a coming of age story, it becomes more morally ambiguous as the books continue on. And by the third book, she's making decisions where there isn't necessarily a clear right or wrong, but it's just a decision she has to live with. And we get to see some of that in the second season. And I think Bob's and the team did a really good job of figuring out how to express that in animation because it's alchemy. You're taking pictures and words and you're transmuting it to characters and voice acting and music and camera and lighting, and it's a magic trick if you can pull it off.
Bobs, do you have anything to add to that in terms of what you hope audiences take away?
Well, no, I mean, Tony landed it where it's like we take these characters and we explore them deeper, and Eva grows up or begins to grow up and become ultimately an adult, right? So yeah, Tony hit on it. I think that the takeaway is going to be, and we did talk about, like, in general, like family was a big driving story theme in the first season, and home is sort of like a guiding word for us in second season as she arrives in New Attica, the human home, the home of the humans. But does that what makes it a home? Is it this place or the familiarity of it, or is there other ways to define home? So yeah, I think there's a lot of great depth of character and an expansion of the world in season two.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. So, Tony, when you wrote Ava 9, was she influenced by someone in your life?
She was inspired by my daughter, Sophia. When I first really sat down to write I've been toying with the concept of WondLa since the late 90s, right around the time I was working and coming up with the ideas for the Spiderwick Chronicles. And I kept shelving it because I felt like I wasn't ready to tackle it. And my daughter was born and I turned 40. And I was thinking of what the world would be like when Sophia was 40 years old. And would she find love? Would I still be there for her to care and help her? Would mankind's reliance on technology increase? Surprise, it did. Would mankind's disassociation with the natural world continue? Kind of is. Would mankind's dissociation with one another continue? These were all just ideas that were swirling around in my head as I kind of sat down to write the book. And like all my favorite books, there's no message in it. It just explores these concepts and these ideas. And now my now my daughter's getting ready to go to college, which is crazy. So there you go. But it was my dream of what I'd hope Sophia could become, and I feel very fortunate that she is just as vivacious and empathic as Eva 9 is.
Love that. Awesome. So you've worked with many authors and illustrators, including Holly Black. Is there someone that you would love to collaborate with on a project in the future?
Oh, wow. Um, geez, that's a tricky. I've thought I'm working on a middle grade novel right now. Middle grade is important to me because it's the period in my life where I started to read books not because I had to, but because I wanted to. And one of the really prominent writers that really I loved in middle school was Stephen King. That's when I mean, Stephen King was early in his career in the early 80s when I was in middle school. And so those books, they were scary and terrifying, but I loved them. So I've always been a Stephen King fan, and I've returned to a lot of his classic books and reread them now as an adult and as a writer to kind of figure out how they're constructed and how he writes what he writes. So I've been a tremendous fan of Stephen King's.
Wonderful. Well, that is all the time I've been given. So I just want to say thank you so very much for meeting with me. And I hope you have a great rest of your day and on to season three, hopefully, especially after that cliffhanger.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We won't leave
Yes.
it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Megan.